Hetepu, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum. May Buddha bless you. This is Qesankh with another exciting video for you. In this video, I want to talk about a very disturbing incident at Einstein Brothers Bagel. But before I get into that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you're interested in knowing more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below, click on one of the links, and download a free ebook. However, if you want to learn more and follow that rabbit down the rabbit hole, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $2, or $5 per month. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the spiritual, like how to meditate, proper breathing exercises, how to communicate with your ancestors, and so much more. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. So, Haroon Nefer, hope you're doing well. And Jazz is in his cage getting ready to come out and create havoc. You know, he's a ferret. He has to always play and get in trouble. This is going to be a bit of a different video because I want to talk about a very disturbing incident that I encountered while going to a bagel shop. And I'm going to really kind of detail it out. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Now, I always say that we should never be emotional, and we should always, look at things from a very spiritual perspective. And I encourage everybody to meditate every day because, if you are a person of color, you're faced with racism on a day-to-day basis. And it doesn't have to be overt. Sometimes it's microaggression. Sometimes it's somebody saying something and you wondering, what do they mean by that? And this can cause a lot of stress. So meditation is a great way to relieve the body and the mind of that type of stress. The incident that I went through bothered me for about 2 weeks. You see, when you encounter a racist situation, whether it be not getting the job you want or somebody saying to your face the N-word, it can have a very lingering effect. It can be very demeaning and demoralizing. And if you've been on this earthly plane for any length of time, then you have been bombarded by these things one after another. Hence is why you see a lot of people getting frustrated when the police come up to question them, or when they don't get the promotion, or they don't get the job, because they've been through it many, many times. And sometimes it can be too much to handle. But when this happens, I always prescribe meditation and proper breathing exercises to help you through this. And of course, fellowship. If you can get in with other individuals into an organization to talk about these issues. I go on many online panels with like-minded individuals, and we trade, as you would say, the colloquial saying, war stories about what's going on. And it can help you greatly. And I also really prescribe seeing a therapist. And I know many people are like, well, I'm okay. No, you're not okay. You're living in a crazy world that is sexist and racist. Get some help. Talk to someone. Sometimes when you're telling somebody what you experienced in your day, your mundane day-to-day activities, it can be a relief just to discuss it. So I found myself in a very similar situation as to being a bit stressed out as to what happened at this bagel shop, to where I immediately got to with my support group to talk through it. And then I had my attorney who I could turn to and speak about it. And there were many others that were appalled by what I had been through and were very supportive of me. So why don't we get into it, shall we? Now, we all go to places, Starbucks, Walgreens, CVS, and we never expect to be met with overt racism, but it does happen. Sometimes you're followed around the store. Sometimes they come up to you and ask you, can I help you? And in most cases, they are looking at you because of the color of your skin. I had an incident with my doctor, and him and I had to clear the air and come to an understanding that although he may have been dealing with a lot of different people who are unscrupulous, I was not one of those individuals. But you get, what's the term? Stereotype cast, painted with a broad brush, put in that type of light as though you're a criminal because of the complexion of your skin. And sometimes it's your own people who are the worst offenders of this because they have been indoctrinated into white supremacy. So they, in most cases, will be quick to oppress you. So we have to look out for them. So back in January, I think it was January 24th, around 9:45 a.m., I went to a bagel shop called Einstein's Brothers Bagel. I had just started going there because I couldn't find my regular bagels, because I usually have a bagel with not regular cream cheese, but tofu. And in Las Vegas, it's very hard to find that. So I was basically confined to having one with cream cheese on it. So I had been going to this bagel shop for a couple of months to get my bagel. And one thing I noticed is that the service was all around very poor. And they would often confuse my order. And part of the problem was we were wearing masks at the time. So when you would order your bagel, even though they were repeated back, you couldn't really hear them that well because they had a mask on. So they got my order wrong about 2 times, and I was okay with it. And they apologized and made me a new bagel, no problem. But on this day, I was in a rush. So I went to the bagel shop and I ordered a cinnamon raisin bagel, double toasted with cream cheese and a small coffee. They made the bagel, and I took the bagel and the coffee and got in my car, and somebody told me to check it. So when I opened it up, I saw that it wasn't a cinnamon raisin bagel with cream cheese. It was a cinnamon sugar bagel. So I thought, okay, well, I guess it's another mistake they made. And, I could definitely understand the confusion. So I walked back in very calmly and cool. And I told the woman who was taking the orders that she made my bagel wrong. And she asked me, what did you want? I said, well, I wanted a cinnamon raisin, cream cheese, double toasted. And this is a bagel I have been ordering all the time. I don't eat any other bagel, no reason to. That's the bagel I eat all the time. I'm a creature of habit. So she turned to the manager and gave the manager my bagel, which was the cinnamon sugar bagel. And he was Black, African American, and the rest were, I believe, Latinas and Mexicans. And right away, I could see he was having a bad day, as almost he didn't want to be there on that Monday morning. He proceeded to make me a new bagel, and I told him, I said, well, it's double toasted. And then he looked at me and he says, well, I'm going to have to charge you extra. And I'm like, extra for what? I said, you made a mistake. And all I'm asking is just to remake the bagel. So he took the bagel that he was preparing for me and threw it in the garbage, and then proceeded to turn his back on me. And as I stood there and watched them service other people, I looked at this gentleman. I said, excuse me, are you going to make my bagel? And he just ignored me. And I was kind of astonished at that fact, you know? So he turned and looked at me, and he accused me of ordering the wrong bagel, that it was my mistake. And I told him, I said, why would I order something I don't eat? I said, you can check my receipts, the history from my credit card. I order the same bagel every time I come in here. I don't change. You made the mistake, and don't put this on me. So instead of me receiving great customer service, he got an attitude, and he turned his back again, ignoring me. So I asked him, are you going to make my bagel or give me back my money? And he just ignored me, which I was astonished at that point. Now, if memory serves, I'm just standing there looking like an idiot. And then right next to me, an older man approaches me and he says, the service in this place is horrible. And I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. And that kind of infuriated that manager. His name was Jordan, I believe. And I again said, I'm not leaving unless I get my bagel or my money back. Then he turned and looked at me and he says, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I said, no, I don't leave until I get my bagel or my money. And then he proceeded to turn to his subordinate, or the woman that was working the other register, and told her to call the police. And she went over to the phone and started to call the police. And I was like, really? You're calling the police because I want my bagel or my money back? Are you serious? At that point, the other employees jumped in and started calling me names. And one heavy-set Latina was particularly aggressive. Now, I pulled out my phone with the intention of recording this incident because I couldn't believe what was transpiring. And when I did, she saw me pull out my cell phone, and then she called me a nigger. She said, that nigger. And I was like, excuse me, did you just call me a nigger? And she was in shock because I heard it. She didn't realize that I was listening. Then came the assaults, the verbal assaults from the other employees when they saw I was filming this. And they were saying many different things. I don't care. Go ahead, film me, whatever. So I looked at the manager and I was, had the camera pointed at him. And I asked him for his name. And he told me his name. I said, well, I'm going to call the corporate office and tell them about this. And he goes, I don't care. I don't care. And I said to him, well, you should care. Now, many of you know that I'm under a doctor's care, and I have a condition in my hands, which makes my hands shake sometimes due to pain. And I hadn't taken my medication. So my hands were in pain and they were shaking. So he looks at that and then proceeds to start making fun of me. And he says to everyone, look, his hands are shaking, everyone. Look, his hands are shaking. And I was just flabbergasted. I mean, absolutely speechless, because I have never been treated in this manner. So as I stood there, waiting for the police to show up because I really wanted them so I can tell them my story. The other employees continued to insult me and said demeaning things to me. Now, all the while, I'm at peace, I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm not swearing, I'm not interfering with other customers getting their bagels. But I had made it clear that I would not leave until I was compensated. So, one young woman throughout all of this, a worker there, came up to me and said, "Sir, what is it that you want?" I said, "All I want is my bagel." And she goes, "That's it?" I go, "Yeah." She says, "Well, what did you have?" I said, I wanted a cinnamon raisin bagel toasted with cream cheese. And then she goes, "Oh, I can get that for you." And in less than 3 minutes, she prepares it, gives it to me in the bag. And I was like, "Thank you. This is all I wanted." And I looked at the manager. I said, "See how easy it is." And when I said that, another Latina came up and pointed at me and she said, "See, you got what you wanted. Now, why don't you shut the hell up?" And I was in shock. Now, at that moment, two police officers walked into the bagel establishment. At first, I thought they were responding to the call that was made, but actually, they got online and they were just patrons wanting to get a bagel. So I walked up to the one officer and I looked at him and I pointed to the heavyset Latina and I said, "That woman called me a nigger." So the officer looked at me and he says, "Take the store's location down, write or call their corporate office and let them know they lost a customer." I said, "Thank you." At that point, I left. Now, this is outrageous. And I was telling this story to a good friend, and he says, "It sounds like there is a type of culture there where this type of behavior is normalized." Now, there are several things that happened that was just out of the norm. Number one, this manager, Jordan, turned his back on me, which was very disrespectful. He allowed his employees to call me names in front of the other people who were coming in to get bagels, because this became a public incident. He had no control over his employees because instead of calling me names, they should have been working. And this really was a matter between him and I. There was no reason for any of the other employees to get involved. It should have been just between the two of us. As a manager, and I'm a project manager, I know that I am supposed to be the person that's handling these type of situations and that I represent the company. And really, the customer is always right. So he had no control over his own employees. He allowed them to engage with me. And when they were calling me names and all this, I made sure not to address them. But I want to give kudos to the young woman who made me my bagel in 3 minutes. And for some odd reason, this manager, Jordan, felt it necessary to create this entire fiasco over something that could have been resolved in less than 3 minutes, just making me my bagel or giving me my money back. He, instead of de-escalating the situation, he allowed the situation to escalate and did nothing when his employees jumped in to berate me. Well, immediately after that, of course, I said in my mind I would never come back there. because it was a volatile and aggressive situation toward me. I immediately contacted their corporate office and I wrote up a lengthy description of the facts of what happened to their chief operating officer, Mark Davis. About 2-3 weeks passed, which was a long time in my mind, but I kind of got the gist. And like I was thinking to myself, I bet he's probably addressing this and doing an investigation. Well, about the 3-week mark, I received a call from Mr. Mark Davis apologizing for what had happened. He asked me to tell him my side of the story. He said he had already conducted an investigation and he had all the employees write up what had happened. And he knew their names. He knew everything, even the young woman who made my bagel. And again, kudos to her. She should be promoted for de-escalating the situation and getting it resolved quickly. He asked me if I would be returning to that location. And while I'm at it, let me give you that location. It's in Las Vegas. It's called Einstein's Brothers Bagel at 4626 South Maryland Parkway, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89119. Now, during my conversation with Mr. Davis, I said, was this worth it? My order came up to about $3.88. Is it worth losing a customer, a loyal customer, over $3.88? And he agreed, no. He also agreed that his manager could have handled it better. He asked me to return to the location, that he would make sure that I would be receiving good customer service. And I told him I really doubt I'll ever go to any location. And he asked me if he could send me a gift card. And I said, I really prefer that you not, because I will not be returned to that location. But I said, if you really want to send it, go ahead. And he actually did send it. I got it on February 9th. And this was like right before my birthday. So imagine how I felt. So I got the gift card in this envelope. And he gave me his card. And in it, he says, I once again want to provide my deepest apologies for your experience at our Flamingo Road location. Per our conversation, I will follow up on the experience personally. Moreover, I will rectify the team member issues. Please enjoy this card on me. As well, I have included my information in the event I can help with anything. My apologies, Mark Davis. So I want to thank him for sending me this and addressing the issue. And the gift card was for, here it is, for $200. This is a gift card, $200. Okay. But I want you to understand something. I was humiliated, demoralized, verbally assaulted, and made fun of my disability. I was called nigger in front of other people there. A gift card to go back and support the same establishment does not begin to rectify the situation. So what I did is I thought about it for a while. And I had to meditate because I was still feeling very low if you understand what I'm saying. It's like when our ancestors back in the 50s, 60s would go to drink at the different water fountain, which was for coloreds only, and the white people got to drink out of a different water fountain. It's a very demoralizing experience. It doesn't go away. And I felt that way for 2 weeks and very nervous about even going in that area of that establishment. And somewhat angry at, because when I go to Starbucks, when I go to McDonald's, the customer's always right. And McDonald's, if you don't like something, they'll make it for you again. In Starbucks, if your drink doesn't taste right, they'll make it for you again, no questions asked. And you're always met with polite service. They refer to you by your first name. But in this experience, the employees seemed like they didn't even want to be there. And for all of the employees to team up and to verbally assault me was something I have never seen in my entire life. So I just couldn't allow this to go without addressing this, because there would be others who would come in and maybe experience the same thing. As I mentioned earlier about the older man who said that this location has poor customer service. So I immediately contacted my attorney and asked him to reach out to them to ensure that such an incident would never happen again to anyone else. And he did. My attorney asked me, well, what would you like to see done? I said, well, I would like that manager to be terminated. I would like the woman that called me a nigger to be terminated. The woman who made my bagel, I want her to be given an accommodation. So I believe he sent a letter to them, and then subsequently there were a number of follow-up phone calls. But in a nutshell, it doesn't seem like Mr. Davis or the Einstein brothers Bagel takes this matter seriously. Not at all. And that, for me, speaks volumes, because now I know why there is a culture and climate where they feel free to throw racial epithets at people. I mean, there are no bad students, only bad teachers. If you have a process in place that is a good process, as you'll see at McDonald's or Starbucks. And Starbucks recently had an incident where 3 young Black men were arrested for just sitting there. And Starbucks closed all their locations and had sensitivity training. That's how serious and committed they are to ensure that there's no discrimination. But that's not the same response I got from Mr. Davis or Einstein brothers Bagel. In fact, they really just tend to look at this lightly. And I don't feel that the situation has been adequately addressed. Hence is why I have turned to my channel and to you, my supporters. You see, we cannot allow a country that we built to dismiss us, to discriminate against us, to treat us as though we're not human, to make fun of our disabilities, to call us the N-word. And too many of us allow this to happen. Oh, I've got a gift card, so I guess they're sorry, so I'll just move on with my life. No, because it shouldn't happen in the first place. If there was correct training, and procedure and a real care for customers, no matter what the complexion of their skin, these things wouldn't happen at Einstein's brother Bagel location. I shouldn't be standing there arguing with a manager over a $3.88 order. I shouldn't have to ask for them to remake it. They should volunteer and apologize to me. And the incident made me late. This is horrendous. This is disgusting, an act on this company's part. To tolerate this, to not rectify it, and to not treat it seriously. And I'm the type of person where I don't let things slide like this. Because once you let it slide, it's going to be in the back of your mind and it's going to gnaw away at you. You're going to lose respect for yourself. You're going to have low self-esteem. We have gone through slavery, lynchings, attacks by the Klan, redlining. We have gone through so much in this country. And for me, someone as myself, forget the fact that I'm a priest, going about my day-to-day mundane life, to encounter something like this in 2022 is absurd. And to have the company itself not take this matter seriously to rectify this with my attorney and myself shows me they don't care. And it goes in line with how it happened in the first place. Because if this company had cared enough about its customers, about its service, then they would have had sensitivity training from the beginning. This incident will never have cropped up. I want to know, how is it possible that employees working there feel it's okay to address a customer when it's the manager's responsibility to handle it? I want to know why they feel comfortable calling a customer names, using the N-word. And I'm talking about, I'm 56 years old. I'm talking about, these are kids in their 20s, don't know even how to respect someone who's an elder or older than them. They don't know who I am. And I told the manager that this matter would not be dropped. I would pursue it. And his response was, I don't care. How is he feeling comfortable enough to say that? And of course, I'm pretty sure that when Mr. Davis went back to ask the employees what happened, they all gave their version to save their asses. In fact, I believe my lawyer said, one of them said I came back very, very irate. I said, no, I didn't come back irate. But that's what you expect them to say, to cover their asses. Because let me stress this point again. None of those employees, and I think it was about 5 of them, should have been addressing me. None of them should have been talking to me. The only person that should have been speaking with me was the manager. And the other issue is for this man who's African American to know the problems that we as African Americans males have had with the police and police shootings and mistaken identity, for him to call the police on me as if I was doing something disruptive is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How many times have we heard in the news the police being called and suddenly someone ends up shot and they happen to be Black or African American? How would you get to the point of having to call the police, which really means that you can't handle the situation? That you failed as a manager to de-escalate the situation. How do you de-escalate the situation? Just give me a new bagel. It is absurd that we're having this conversation over $3.88. It's absurd that this manager, Jordan, is an African American, and he should have known what it's like to be Black in this world, and he should have known that you don't call the police over a simple matter of the bagel being made incorrectly. And for, again, Einstein Brothers Bagel not to take this matter deadly serious tells me what type of company they run. So to my supporters out there, I am putting a link in a description box to their website where you can contact them. And I'm asking you guys to reach out to them and let them know how you feel about the way I was treated. Because in these matters, we have to stand together. And that has been our biggest problem, is that we are reactive and not proactive. Go there and politely let them know your feelings about how I was treated. And if you find that the treatment that I underwent was so appalling and disgusting that you don't want to support them or buy bagels from any one of their locations in the United States, let them know that. Let them know that. I'm not going to tell you to do that, but I'm saying if you feel that you want to protest and not buy bagels from that establishment, then let them know that. But that's, again, your decision. But as for me, I will never, ever buy a bagel or anything from that establishment. And I am going to use my platform to get the word out about how I was treated and how they rectified or failed to rectify the situation. You see, this is a form of low-key racism. Well, take the gift card and we'll leave it as is. No, no. This is about my dignity. This is about respect. Respect that you have not shown me as a human being. If we allow these establishments to get away with this, then we will be treated like shit. And we can't complain because we allow it. Well, I'm not allowing it. I'm not okay with it. I went through 2 weeks of feeling demoralized. Do you know what it's like for someone to call you the N-word in front of a group of people? Do you know what it's like to have a disability and the manager to make fun of it? He thought it was funny that my hands were shaking. I'm sorry, I can't control that. You see, I'm on medication. How is it that a manager can come out of his mouth to make fun of a customer? Look, everybody, his hands are shaking. Look, look, drawing attention to my disability. No, sir. No, sir, Einstein's brothers Bagel. I'm not okay with this. And I'm not okay with how you're not taking the matter serious. My ancestors helped build this country. Without my ancestors, there would be no America. And for you to turn around and treat me like shit when all I wanted was a bagel and to go about my business. And again, we just need to look at how Starbucks handled their situation. When the manager called the police on the 3 young men who were just sitting there working on their computers, what did Starbucks do? They fired their manager, they closed down all their locations, and they had sensitivity training, and they apologized to the 3 men. But what does Einstein Bagel do? Oh, I'm sending you a gift card. We're sorry that you got called nigger. We're sorry our manager made fun of your disability. We're sorry we screwed up your bagel and blamed it on you. What happened to the customer is always right? I want to thank you all for tuning in. And again, I'm going to give you the information. This is the Einstein's Brothers Bagel, located at 4626 South Maryland Parkway, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89119. Chief Operating Officer is Mark Davis. If you choose to go to that link in the description box and let them know how you feel about how I was treated, you can use my Western name of Ronald Armstrong so they know who you're talking about. They don't know my spiritual comedic name of Qesankh so they may be going, who's Qesankh? So make sure you refer to my Western name. But please I'm asking you not to allow this matter to rest. If you love the spiritual content that I give you, and if it has benefited your life, then please support me. And in supporting me, as Ma'at, the goddess Ma'at says, when you give to others, you're giving to yourself. So I'm going to follow up with a part 2 and keep you updated on how our discussions go between my attorney and their attorney. So this is Qesankh Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is a beautiful goddess, Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.